What's going on? Welcome to Kings Speak. So, this is a platform and interview series where men can share about things that we don't generally hear them talk about, like maybe emotional intelligence, vulnerability, self love, self care, and all of these things that I feel like really opens up communication between men and women. So, at the end of the day, we can harmonize our relationships and just get along better and see how we're all feeling from a true place. So today I'm really excited because this was actually my very first King Speak interviewee that I had here, Anthony D. Brice. Okay, he's amazing. He's a best-selling author of the book Poor Me to Soul Rich. He's a speaker, and now he's also a #1 release title holder, and he has a new book called Crown Your King. And it's a children's book that you can pre-order with the release date of 10/20/2020. That's a good date to put some goodness out in the air, don't you think? Well, I know he is here and ready to chat. We're going to talk about using our words, and who better to speak to about how to use your words powerfully and to serve you than an author. So let's get this party started. Oh, yeah. Add to stream. What's up?
Hey, what's going on, Jaimi?
Oh, nice to see you again.
Good to see you too. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You were my first guest. Now you're like my 15th guest.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad to be back on the platform we started on.
That's right. King Speak in the building. So just for those who didn't get a full enough intro from me, you want to just tell the people who you are and what you're about?
I think you gave a good one. Like you said, I'm a author, speaker. I'm the founder of the Empower Group, where we focus on empowering people personally, and also have a side of my business where we empower businesses as well. So you know me, I'm all about self, all about figuring out tools and resources to give to people. Like I said, I have a new book coming out on October 20th. I'm super excited. Is actually I am powerful. I am amazing. I am a king. I know we'll talk about that later, but yeah, I'm excited about that.
I love it. And by chance, do you have earphones? Because I think sound is best when our earphones are in, and I forgot to message you that.
Is it? Yeah, I have some. I don't know if you're gonna pause the show for me to go get some earbuds.
Yeah, you know what? It really might just be better.
Okay.
So do you want me to wait for you? Okay. I could just hear the clicking starting, and I forgot to let you know.
Okay.
But maybe it'll be okay. Let's just see.
Let me know. I have some. I just have to
go. Okay. I'll let you get them. That's my fault. And in the meantime.
Okay. You go ahead and talk. Give me a second.
Yes. All right, y'all. Technical difficulties as a host. It is my job to make sure everybody has everything that they need. But sometimes I'll be slacking on my pen. But anyway, I was really excited to do this using the power of your words. I'm actually reading a book right now called The Power of the Spoken Word. I've already read it once, but I find myself going back to it often because I have to make sure that I'm not putting myself in position to kind of curse my own life. We get in our menstrual cycle, we get in a mood, we get in an argument, our emotions are running, and sometimes we say things that don't serve us. So I figure the more times we can put on our lips things and situations and ideals and words that serve us, we give ourselves a fighting chance to actually allow that to carry out into the universe for us. So words can be used as a tool, just like money. And the power of life and death lies in our tongue. So if you believe something like that, you'll know how important it is to make sure your words is on point. All right. How you hearing me? Is that good?
All right. 1 second. I'm getting set up right now.
Oh, you sound good. That's great. Awesome. That's way better. Thank you for that. I've only been hosting for years. Like, why didn't I have that together? So, yes.
Is that any better?
Yeah, that's perfect. So I was just kind of telling the audience how I'm really keeping myself accountable with my words, because I feel like, I've been a little loose with it. I've been, I was saying sometimes you don't get in your menstrual cycle, but sometimes you're feeling some kind of way, or you're emotional, or you're angry, or you're having a moment, and you find yourself saying things or needing to vent and all of these things. And I just think right now in this season, it's a really important time to watch your words. I shared that words can be viewed as a tool, just like money. So if the power of life and death lies in our tongue, how do we use our words just like we use money to purchase things? How do we use our words to serve our life? So being that you're an author and a speaker, I mean, your Instagram is highly inspirational. Your quotes, your quote cards, and everything that you have are always so well written. They're thoughtful. They hit all the points, and they get a lot of feedback because you're really hitting the spot. So tell us about the power of your words and how you use them intentionally and why.
Okay. First of all, can you hear me well?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So for me, I believe that your words are just a reflection of your beliefs, and what you believe ultimately decides your life, your actions, what you do, what you achieve, everything, all of your actions. So that's why, I'm always talking about, watch your words and be mindful of how you're speaking into the atmosphere, how you're speaking about yourself, because if there's some negativity, if there's something going on there where it's not aligned with kind of what you believe, then you're easily able to kind of check, kind of see where you are, and kind of, see if what you say is in line with what you say you believe.
No, that is so good. I wanted to make sure to touch on that, how your words reflect your belief. So it sounds like there's two sides of that. If words are coming out of your mouth that are not in alignment with your highest desires, that's also a way to say, oh my gosh, let me look at that. But then on the other hand, internally, when you have these desires, what God spoke over your life, your truth and whatever, but you're still saying things that are not in alignment with that. That's another one. So that sounds like two ways where you really need to be accountable about what you're saying, and two alerts that you can get in your spirit to kind of bring yourself back.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, so have you seen your life and the lives of others improve by being intentional with their words? Like, do you know a story, or have you seen someone go from kind of maybe a despair moment, or just actually watch somebody's life change or your life change by being intentional about the words you decide to use?
Yeah, definitely my life. I've seen a lot of people's lives change. Especially mine. Just first understanding, kind of knowing what I believe, like I said before, kind of making sure that what I do and what I say is aligned with that. I'm big on clarity, and even in my coaching, everything I talk about, I'm big on that, because that's where everything begins. Because without clarity, you can't be effective. You know what I'm saying? You can't accomplish something if you don't know kind of what that thing is. So for me, starting there really gave me kind of what I need to actually make things happen, and to actually speak very specific about what I wanted, and like you say, and to be intentional with not only how I approach my life, but really break it down. How do I, based on this thing that I say I want, how do I approach my day? How do I break my weeks down, my months down, my years down, my minutes down, to make sure that every step that I'm taking is going toward a very specific goal laid out, to make sure that I'm always seeking fulfillment in every aspect of my life.
Gosh, I love how, because I do these, but I always learn too. And so what do you think about this? Sometimes I feel like in life we can have goals and ideals and places we want to go, but sometimes life has, I don't want to say a mind of its own, because we do have more power than we give ourselves credit for. But at the same time, how do you suggest the balance of having so much clarity in what you want to do and sticking to that goal, but then allowing life to flow through, and maybe that goal shifts or changes, or it isn't the goal? Like, how do you pivot when you're so steadfast on clarity and focused and headed in one direction?
I think it's being mindful of exactly what you just said, that you can only control a certain amount of life. Your part is the intention, your part is the action, your part is the planning. But you can't control everything that happens to life, but of course you control how you respond to it. So knowing that is your power, say, okay, I know this is what I want, but I know that I'm aware that there are things going to happen that I can't control, and I'm not going to focus on the things I can control. I'm going to take every situation as it comes, and focus on the part I can control to keep moving forward and be open to evolve as things go along.
Yeah, and I find the balance in that, because sometimes I can lean too far to the left or too far to the right. So, I do think intention has everything to do with it. The definition of intention is a thing intended, an aim or a plan. So as long as you got that plan, you got some clarity to it, and you're working towards it, it sounds like you on the right track.
Right.
Yes, I'm totally here for it. So, what are some ways that you think people can be more mindful of their words when they're angry? Like, you get in your emotions and you get in that moment and you're just like, ugh.
Yeah. What the thing that I've a tool that I use, and let me get this straight first, like it's going to happen. I mean, you're human. So no matter how mindful, how much meditation you do, just understand that you're human first. So for me and how I approach those things, I always say why, how, what, like why, when something happens, like, okay, why am I angry about this thing? You know what I'm saying? How serious is it? Like, how serious is this thing? Then based on what I control, what can I do about it? So, and the preface to that, my bad, is that deep breath first. Breathe it is important too. There you go. Yeah, so that deep breath first. But, real quick, I kind of asked myself those questions, and what you come to realize that a lot of things that we get worked up about, when it comes to the overall impact on our lives, it's really not that serious, and it doesn't deserve as much energy as we give it.
That's true. I like that why, how, what. I might have to adopt that. That's a very good practice. And I feel like that's because emotions are so intense and you never know how something's going to pop off or how you're going to pop off. You really kind of need to have that embedded, so you have that trick, that tool to go back to when you're kind of not in your right mind.
Yeah, I call it wow. I mean, even though it's not WOW, it's like W how, so I say wow, that brings me back to that, to remind myself that, hey, I need to take a look at this before I, react.
Give yourself an opportunity to respond. That power of pause, boy. Some breathing and some pausing might really change your life and save some of your relationships.
It is. In a matter of a moment, things can change just like that.
And you can curse your life in an instant. And I don't know if we're really realizing that. That's why I wanted to have this conversation, because I'm like, we're out here a little bit loose right now. And, there's a lot going on. And it's like, we got to tighten this thing up. Okay. Right. In order to get to where we're really going. And now more than ever is just so important, because there's so many distractions. There's so much going on. So I love that. Wow. Okay. So let's see. I definitely want to talk about the book, because there's some powerful words written on the top of the book. I saw the video that you did with your son, and you've got him speaking powerful words. I have friends who have nightly and morning affirmations for their young kings, so that they're walking out and they know, who they are. That repetitive sound, our voice releases a vibration, and that repetitive sound of what we want to share is powerful. So to teach the kids to do this is great. So you have a small son and you wrote a children's book. How are you using words to teach him how to walk in power? And let's talk about your book.
Yeah, I mean, pretty exactly what you said is kind of how it happened. When he was 2 years old, when I was younger, my mom used to do a prayer with myself and my brother. And that's something that, that routine, always doing that, and at least kind of making us aware of that higher power. And for him, I was like, okay, he's 2, he's not going to remember a prayer. So let me give him something that we can say together, but more importantly, that I can teach him to say for himself. And I started doing that. I started saying, I am. He would say powerful. I would say, I am. He would say amazing. I would say, I am. And he would say a king. And what happened, what inspired the book was, the more we started doing that, at night before he goes to bed, and in the morning when he wakes up, he would really start to believe it, almost to a fault, because you can't tell him he's not a king. And if you try to tell him otherwise, he'll let you know. But even more so, just his confidence and how he moves, even being that young, just kind of how confident he was. And more so, to take it a step further, just how he viewed the world and the people around him. More so his mother and the women around him, them from a matter of respect. So, you know, anytime we would talk about queen or he'll see any image of a queen, he'll always say, Mama's a queen. You know what I'm saying? Grandma's a queen. And it was like, man, I'm like, that's powerful. I mean, and I'm sure that you would agree that how men could learn a lesson even from that, to recognize that that appreciation and that respect, you know, for our women and the people around us. And I was like, man, I think that a lot of kids, they need this. How for them to be able to learn that early, not only just about everyone else, but more so about themselves. Teaching them the lesson of how do I teach my child to speak power in themselves, knowing that at the end of the day, it's all going to be up to them. No matter how great or awesome I think that, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, until they learn to do that for themselves, you know, we kind of diminish their power with that by not giving them that tool early on.
Yeah, I agree. And I love what you said, so much of that, because, you know, about his confidence and how he views women. You know, it's so much of a lot of what we talk about here on King Speak, you know, with some of the other topics and stuff, how, you know, when it comes to loving a woman or having a healthy relationship, or however you go about that type of thing, you got to have that confidence in yourself first. You got to be able to self-regulate, self-communicate, self-love. Like, so much of it starts with who you are as an individual. And then, yeah. So it's nice that he's seeing he's a king and then can go out and recognize the same beauty in the counterpart. But the fact that, you know, it's starting with him and going out, I mean, I'm here for that.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, with me, and especially now, you spoke a lot about the times that we're in, and we know that there's already a lot of history before. We know what's going on now. Figuring out how to navigate that, and that changes every day. But then even thinking about the future, because no matter how bad it gets, there's going to be a future. So we can't, you know, forget about that. And that made me think about, I know that when my sons walk out the door, the world's going to try to tell them who they are. Always. From the time they walk out, from no matter what the age is until they're gone, the world is going to try to define them. You can't do this. You know, your value is this, you know what I'm saying? And it was extremely important to me that they start that self-discovery journey early, so they know who they are, so nobody else could ever tell them who they are.
It's rooted like the tree planted by the water. Got to get those roots in, and it starts early. You know, sometimes when we miss those steps, we really do children a disservice by not honoring their need to protect. Like you said, when we go out in the world, shoot, you don't even have to go out in the world. We're being marketed to and sold to the second we walk out the womb. Okay, we walk out the womb like, this is who you are, this is what you can't do, this is what you're doing, this is what you look like, you're cute, you're not, you're tall, you're not, you're this, that. It's overwhelming. And then school, kids are mean. I don't know where it comes from, but they're mean.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, look at just all of the access to the outside, to people's opinions. Like we never had when we were young, as far as people having access to them to be able to critique and judge. They turn on the TV, they go on the internet, they go to school. No matter what, somebody's always going to try to tell them, whether it's a negative image, a negative perception, or stereotype. No matter what, we're internalizing that. And based on what we see and how that resonates with us, if it looks like us, if the lifestyle looks, you know, we can resonate with it, we start to see ourselves in that. So it's super important that we give them images that they can really see their true selves in. And in this case, I'm saying that their true selves are kings.
That's right. That is so good. That's really powerful. And I love it because, again, you're giving him a chance to, whenever he goes out in the world and chooses, career or his friends or wise counsel or a woman or whatever, that is coming from a place as true as possible. Like you're doing your part as a parent.
That's the job.
And giving other parents a chance to invite this kind of thinking in. So
And
yeah.
Yeah, and that's what it's about. And that's the core of this book. Not only just I can put something out, it looks nice, oh, this has a good message, but right now we need tools. And for me, this moment felt so important, like no other moment I've ever felt in my life in history. And I was like, what I do or don't do in this moment will echo for generations to come. And I wouldn't be able to look at myself if I didn't do something in this moment to contribute to that present and to that future. And that's what this book represents, that tool. It's a tool to help parents of Black boys or Black kids or kids, period, to be able to speak power into themselves so they know that their potential is limitless, their value is priceless, and their identity is king or queen.
Yes. No, I love that. I got chills when you were speaking about needing to put something out, because I wanted to talk to you about legacy, like needing to put something out in this time. If 2020 wasn't, because you've been working, you've been doing this, you've been writing, you've been doing everything, but kind of the same as me. However, there was something about the way 2020 jumped off that was really like, okay, hold up now. This is not a game. It's
Right.
time. It's time to get quiet. Figure out who you are. How can you walk in purpose and power? What did God put in you to share? So, like you said, can echo out over generations, because it's not a game anymore. It never was. But I feel like it first started with Kobe passing. That kind of just tilted the whole scale. Right, the whole world just fell off the axis for a second.
Mm-hmm.
And then right to follow all the things with COVID, and then everything that happened with Black Lives Matter and George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and the list goes on. We've been shaken up and rattled. And before we can even get our 2 feet on the ground, we rattling some more. So if this is not a wake-up call to figure out what your purpose in life is and how you can serve that, I don't know what is. You're either going to do it or you're not. So tell me about that, a little bit about that process and why you felt it was important to even include or use the word legacy when it comes to what you created.
When, just like you said, man, once everything just started happening, just unbelievable stuff that just felt surreal. And like you said, it did start with Kobe. It's like, man, did that really happened? And things just started snowball effect. And it took me a while to really just kind of really process it. I contemplate everything. I'm pretty intuitive when it comes to kind of really taking things in. So, but it's because it's easy to just straight react off of emotions, off of everything was going on. But like you said, once you feel like you're trying to deal with one thing, 100 other things are happening. So just figuring out a way to not only kind of deal with it, but how can I utilize this moment to the best of my ability? And so I really decided to look at everything that was going on as an opportunity. Everything that happened, good or bad. How can I turn this into an opportunity that is not about me? I can utilize what God gave me to make a bigger impact. Everything impact. So that's really how I internalized everything that was going on and just really focused on how can I turn everything into an opportunity. So I've been in go mode with that mindset this whole time.
I love it. Do you feel like there was any part of your mind or maybe fear that crept in, or any words that kind of made you think you can't do it, or the time is not right now, or wait, you don't have enough? Was there any pushback within you in moving forward with any of it?
Of course. I mean, it's a lot. Like I said, this is unprecedented as far as the time. You know, we've never been in a time quite like this with so many things going on. So I would be lying to myself. I was like, oh yeah, I was cool, calm, and collect. I knew exactly what I was going to do. No, I was dealing. I was dealing with it every day, like everybody else, and just making sure that I'm filtering the information that's coming in, not taking in too much, but still being aware of what's going on. And you know, just choosing, because so many things that were going on around me were being chosen for me, that I was like, okay, I'm choosing, I'm making a decision. And once I made that decision, you know, that's the thing that guided me from everything that I was going to do. But as far as I actually did have a moment, especially even with this project, when the words kind of crept in. And a quick story, I was this was when the book, I had been working on it for a while, but the story, it was good, but it didn't, you know, you know, you're creative too. So if it doesn't, even though you have something, if it doesn't hit you right, you're not gonna, you know, you don't feel comfortable putting it out. And it was kind of like that with this, and that's why I have been sitting on it for a while. So anyway, after the George Floyd thing, maybe like a week or so after, I was sitting with it and trying to figure out, okay, you know, when I'm going to deal with it. And I watched that Dave Chappelle special on YouTube. And
was it like the Sticks and Stones or the Birds?
No, it was 846, 826. It was
okay.
It was. I thought it was going to be a comedy, but the title was the time that the police were on George Floyd's neck.
Oh, the 8 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I thought it was going to say, you know what? I need to laugh now. Let me watch something funny. And it was not funny. You know, it was his take, you know, comedic and depth and otherwise, just about everything that was going on. And it really made me like kind of take this stuff in. And at that moment, I'm like, I got to do something. Like, what am I going to do? Like, this moment is so important. I'm literally kind of looking out the window, like, what am I going to do? And I was literally about to start to write another book, specifically kind of about everything was going on, kind of what I was feeling, and kind of really giving a perspective of the things that I was seeing and the things that people were telling me from that perspective. But I was like, man, don't do that, because you're always starting something and you want to create something new. You got this children's book. Why not pour this message into that? Because at the end of the day, the biggest impact you want to make is on this future, as far as these kids. And that's what I did. I took that and I poured that message into this. And within, you know, it was sitting for like a year and a half, and within weeks, it was done.
Gosh, I love that so much. And it was so timely and necessary. And, you know, I'm with you on that. I kind of felt the same way. Like, there was no way when everything was happening. I like how you spoke to the choice, because as much as we can choose our words, we have to choose our thoughts and what comes into our ear gates and eye gates. And with that, because it influences our thoughts, which influence our words. So it's all tied together in its own way. And I knew immediately when all this stuff was going on, like, I had to take a step back. I had to turn some of this stuff off, because I did not want to put, you know, just enough to be informed, but not so much where you're being affected. And I was like, well, I got to do something useful and helpful. Everyone's hurting. Everything's a mess. And the foundation that we have been built on is crumbling. That's what I feel like when it comes to this nation and the way we used to do things. I feel like it was built on sand because it wasn't real. And we know what happens to things built on sandy land. It don't last. So instead of, you know, being worried about all the debris that's coming down with everything, I want to be in a position where I can build something on stone and foundation. And, you know, even with King Speak, I was doing, you know, healing work with women in 2016. And the men was like, well, when you gonna do something for us? And I was like, oh, I didn't know y'all wanted to heal. Like, okay. So this is back in 2016, and I'm not thinking of it. I don't think guys think anything of it. And then, of course, last year I tried to pick it up again and do an event. But this year I was like, no, we got to talk. Our men, we have to hear them. We have to hear what's going on. We have to see what's going on in their minds, because y'all are the leaders. Men and women, we're individuals, but men lead. You know, women, we kind of, in a relationship, we follow and we submit and whatnot, but still it's a position of power that you need to stand in order for this thing to work. And I feel like that's where it's going to start with. Look at our, you know, from men being killed in the streets, all of the stuff that's going on. Like, men more than ever got to have their mind right. We got to be healed. So you work on the kids, I'm gonna work with the men, we gonna talk, I'm working with the ladies, like, because it's all of the inner work that's really going to save us, not the election. I'm not looking for Trump or Biden or Kamala to save me. Yes, it's important to weigh in, right? But at the end of the day, it's our heart posture, it's our inner work, it's our healing, it's the way we think about ourselves, it's the way our kids think about themselves, it's the way our men think about themselves, the way women, you know. So it's just about that deeper work, and I'm glad that you didn't talk yourself out of it.
Yeah, me too.
I'll just be going off. It's so worth it.
No, that's good stuff, man.
So let's see. I think I kind of asked you this a little bit already, because you spoke about your challenges. So, okay, how have you seen your language be valuable in a romantic relationship? Because you're so on point with spirit and intuition and how powerful your words are, you know, how have you found value in that in a romantic relationship?
Yeah, we already know the communication thing is key. So so for me personally, it all starts with understanding. Understanding that person, understanding that we already talked about love languages a lot, and I speak about it a lot. I mean, and to use the terminology now, it's pretty much just you knowing how that person feels love and expresses love, and having the communication with them to know that. So that way, when you're, you know, trying to express it or receive it, that you guys have that deeper level of understanding. So it all starts there with me, because if I'm understanding you, I know how you express it. I know how you feel it. I've expressed to you how I express it and feel it as well. Then my words are ordered, for lack of better words. It's like I know that what I'm saying and talking about, it's adding to and not taking away.
Yeah, you know, that's really good. It reminds me of when I used to take acting class. My teacher would tell us that the story is the water and the script are the words that float on top of the water. So it's like the current, the stream is the love language, is the understanding. But the boat on top is how you use your words, how you approach the situations, blah, blah, blah. But at least you're in the right water is kind of like what I'm hearing.
Yeah, and they're important. I mean, they're super, super important because, you know, being in a relationship, man, you put it out there, it's hard to take that stuff back, man. So really speaking from a place, and that's all going to start with yourself, though, because no matter how much you understand that person, if you don't have yourself right, you know, to be able to say, okay, maybe this wasn't right. Maybe I have the right to be angry or react or say certain things. But is it worth it? Is it worth it? That's probably anybody in relationships probably put that on their phone, put it wherever, and almost ask themselves that before they react to anything, especially when it's a negative emotion. Is it worth it?
That's very true, because people be just trying to prove a point and be right. And is it worth it to be right, to have something come out your mouth that you can't pull back? It changes things.
And if it is that important, then you probably have to reassess why you're in that situation in the first place and what you really want out of it. Because a lot of times you can be in it and think that you're in it for love and in it for companionship and in it to get to a certain place. And once you probably go back and look at your movements and kind of what you did, you're like, you know what? That's not really why I was in it in the first place. That's not really what I wanted. And now I know. It took me this time and this experience and going through this to get there. But now I know this is not where I'm supposed to be.
real life.
Real life.
You only hope that people know up front and they've done some of the work so that they know, but then some of it just comes from having to go through the motions, and that can be challenging. But I love communication, because with words you can really come at things in a better way. So that way you're not harming people in the process. Even though they might get hurt, you're not harming in the process. With love languages, like, I feel like my love language changes all the time. Side note. So I'm just like, all
that's
vibe.
good. That's good. I mean, well, as I'm sure there's a hierarchy, but yeah, and you should assess that, every 6 months minimum. I mean, things are changing, the situation, everything is changing, because, you know what I'm saying? So things that weren't as important then are definitely important now. Look at when this thing hit, toilet paper wasn't anything you worried about getting, but then it became, this priority, you know what I'm saying? So it's going to change based on the circumstance. That's my point.
Yeah, that's so true. Yes. So what are a few ways? Okay, well, yes. So what are a few ways that you would suggest women can use our words to build men up? Because, I was watching actually a story, we kind of just talked about it, right? When you get in your emotions, you get in your feelings, and you're in a relationship, you're vulnerable. So I know from conversation that some men get concerned about opening up certain levels of themselves because they don't want that woman to throw it back in their face, and vice versa. But since we're talking to the men, what are a few ways that women can use their words to build a man up and use that vibration to, assist?
I think what you said first was huge. Just understand that at the end of the day, we want the same things. And I think that's what probably throws a lot of people off, because there's a lot of misconceptions over history as far as kind of what men want and what women want. Maybe the things are expressed in a different way. They're said a different way. There's different terminology on it. But ultimately, we come into it with your communication, understand that we want the same things. You know what I'm saying? We want support. We want love. We want you to have our back. We want appreciation. We want to be heard. We want to be understood. So first thing I would say is definitely approach it with that mindset. And, you and I talked about it before, there's so much, especially on social media, there's a lot of languaging, especially when it comes to Black men, about what we aren't doing and who we're not, more so than, speaking, those positive things and tools, and just even acknowledging some of those things that we are and that we do. Yeah, we all got hangups, you know what I'm saying? But, as long as somebody's not, intentionally trying to do something to hurt somebody, we're just going through that growth process kind of like everybody else. Not to say that, you should stick it out and ride with every dude in every situation, because it may not be your season with that person. That may just be the season that you guys had for that lesson, and that thing is gone. So like I said, coming from that perspective first and understanding that is key. And like you said, a huge point with the vulnerability thing. Most of us was never taught how to be vulnerable. And so many times there are guys who have opened up reluctantly, and either it wasn't listened to, it wasn't received, it wasn't understood, because a woman may have kind of prejudged it, or they were hearing kind of what they wanted to hear instead of hearing kind of what that person was saying. Or because he's a man, they put him in a certain, like, okay, what you're actually saying is this, or you don't actually want this, what you actually want is this, and actually what wasn't hearing him. So I think that happens a lot, and that causes a lot of guys to close back up. They let themselves open to be vulnerable. They told you their truth, and you didn't accept their truth. You judged them. Not saying all the time, but it happens a lot. They're judged off of that truth. And the last point I'll make with that, just because I've had conversations with women or in groups about guys being able to really talk about certain things and be open about certain things, right or wrong, just being able to express their truth. And if a guy says the wrong thing, and even if he comes to it like, hey, let's have a conversation about this because I want to have some communication for us to figure this thing out, they automatically kind of get shut down. I remember watching that show Black Love. I think it was on OWN.
Yeah.
And it was an episode where a guy was like, you know, I was somewhere and I felt vulnerable. I felt like I was about to cheat or mess with another woman, and I didn't do it, but I felt it. And he went home and had a conversation, you know, with his wife or his girlfriend at the time. And she of course was initially angry, but eventually she respected him for coming to her like that. My question to you is, how do you think women would react if a guy came with that truth?
So, I mean, for me, that's an easy answer. In my immaturity, I would have popped off. But now that I'm much more mature and have far much more understanding, I would have been grateful. And then it would have been a perfect time for us to discuss, like, well, where are the holes at? What do we need to do? Why were you feeling that way? Because it's very scary as a woman. But when you're in it for the long haul, you got to be able to have those conversations because we're human. I believe in God, and that, you know, if we can go to God that way, we should be able to go, you know, the triangle, me, him, and God. So if I can always go to God about it, he should always be able to come to me, go to God. We got to be in this thing.
Right.
And as you were talking, the word I kept hearing was like grace. Like there's a way where we can stand in a position and give more grace, and not react, you know. And then it's kind of like the flip side of that is, you know, where there could be understanding too is yes, there's those vulnerabilities in those moments. And I always encourage women and people to heal as much as possible before they get into anything, because, you know, for example, like I was engaged to somebody who I was with them for 5 years and he pretty much cheated on me the whole time. So there was a definite period of time where I wouldn't have been able to hear that from another man. I'm out because I'm got PTSD now, you know? So it's like, you're right. That timing, that pairing, that, you know, I had to grow past and heal my heart to know, okay, not every guy's the same. Here's how I can communicate. When I see an actual red flag, I can go, but this is when you stay. Did it? So it kind of just seems like it takes time to balance that.
Yeah.
But I know that our words can impact and just shut it down.
Yeah. You made a great point, man. That PTSD is real. It's definitely real on both sides, but that's real. And I think just acknowledgement of that will go a long way. And it's okay. I mean, you know, that's a part of it. But just acknowledging that instead of, you know, of course, dragging it with you or placing the total blame on a situation, and understanding that instead of filling this void with another situation or destructive behavior or something that's not serving me, I should do that healing first. That's the hard thing, because I've talked to thousands of women through my coaching over time that they want that situation. They want that. They want marriage. They want love. They want companionship. They want to share that with somebody, which is awesome. But a lot of it is coming from a place where they're still healing. They're still figuring out who they are, number one, and they're still kind of healing from previous situations.
Do you think in communication with, you know, and you got to do your own healing and have your own discernment and intuition to discern who you can speak to about certain things. But if you're going to enter a relationship, obviously, and share other parts of yourself, you should be able to share conversation. So do you think it's valuable, for example, if a woman did approach a situation and let a man know, like, hey, this is where I have been this has been my biggest struggle, or I've been cheated on, or I've been this and that. Do you think the guy that had that moment would know to come back and tailor that discussion in a particular way? Or do you think he would hide it because he don't want to make her flip out? Like, is there a balance in communication where if you divulge too much, you start to alter the way people react and respond? Or do you think it's informing how someone can use their words to heal the situation?
Wow, that could go both ways, because I think definitely divulging kind of too much too early before you know the person. Before, I mean, of course, it's still, you're going to take time to know them, but it's on the first date. If you're telling me about, you talking about the boyfriend last and how much he hurt you and all this different stuff, I get it, but that's probably not gonna make a guy want to stay around. If anything, he's gonna take it as a big red flag and he's gonna run, and probably vice versa as well. So I think being able to be mindful about when you have that conversation, I think you should have, I mean, once you realize that, hey, we're trying to get to know each other and we feel like things are going to move forward in some capacity, and when the conversation is there, when it happens organically, when you're having those conversations, allowing yourself to be able to talk about those things. Because if you don't talk about them now, you might talk about them later, like way after the fact, or you are going to, your actions are going to be based on your feelings toward those things without that person knowing. So exactly. The point is, if it's there within those moments, at some point it needs to be expressed. You guys need to talk about it, because you'll save yourself a whole lot of assuming, a whole lot of hurt, just a whole lot of confusion by allowing yourself to have those kind of conversations, not only just early on, just throughout your relationship. You have to.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Timing, let it be organic. You know, a lot of now being in the middle of talking to men and women, I can see how some of the organic part is lost, because, you know, men are not as pressed to be married and have children as women are. And so when we come in with that energy, you know, I think it does allow for some of the organicness to get a little genetically modified, if you will, because there's a pressure, you know. So I do think that pace and that timing, because women in our community, we talk a lot about our heart posture and how, you know, and I've been talking about rest all week. Like, can we rest on what God says about us? We can't be looking out here. We got to look up first and then, you know, take that out. So I think that makes perfect sense, to just pace it out. And then when it makes sense to share that, then you can have that conversation and then see where it goes from there. I'm here for it. Yeah. So let's see. Okay, so I pretty much feel like we covered a lot of that stuff. I definitely wanted to know how a woman has used words. You know, has how a woman used words ever been a deal breaker for you? Like, have you ever had a moment where you're like, oh, she just said, I can't do it?
Yeah, the first one that come to mind is actually, I guess, it's not like a early on date thing, or she said this, because I'm pretty with that stuff. I usually can tell fairly early, because I rarely would go deep into a situation, because I'm a decent judge of character, and I can see if we're, you know, at least there to move on to something. But what came to mind was even more serious. Being in a, how long was it? It must have been like 4 years at the time. But she said something to the extent of that made me feel like we weren't a team. We weren't partners. She would speak. I gave it, and we were talking about something, and I kind of, you know, just a scenario of something was to happen. And her response was more like a, you do your part, I'll do my part kind of thing. And a lot of ways that, you know, once I kind of heard that, a lot of ways that she moved was kind of like that. And I'm sure there was a lot of fear there, you know, probably having a foot out, you know, because you don't want to get hurt, even though we've been in this thing deep. We're same house, you know, live in the house, all these different things. But her response was more like, you know, kind of like, you take care of yours, I take care of mine. And I felt like when things go down, that I was going to be out by myself. Like I didn't feel like I had a partner. I didn't feel like I had somebody on my team. I felt like it was going to be, hey, if I can't take care of my part, then I'm out. So it's kind of like, so there was never that. It didn't feel like a unified front. And I really didn't feel like, if things went down, that she wouldn't have my back. And that's super, super, super important. I mean, with men, especially Black men. And I know that some women I know for a fact, a lot of women have had a lot of cats back that didn't necessarily deserve it, but that is super important to us. That's the thing that really sticks out, because on some level we understand that we make mistakes. We understand that we have flaws. We understand that we don't make the best decisions sometimes. And those women who have seen the place that's coming from, and they let you know that, hey, I got you. No matter what, we'll figure it out. That's priceless to a man. Not even just to say it, but to actually do it when those moments happen, when somebody needs you, and you're there. That's the thing that guys remember way over. If they're having a conversation with guys and they're talking about quality women for whatever, they're not talking about the chick with the, who gave this money, or chick that got this kind of body. The one that they remember is that woman that had their back when nobody else did.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand that. I'm curious with this girl, like, was she, just as an aside note, was she like wanting to get married, and was there hesitation in that space? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, it was conversation there, and I felt like that was the direction, that things were going. But, just even to your question about that, like a deal breaker, like it was different, like from that day forward. And the biggest thing for me, just to add, the biggest thing for me, even in that, and with and the underlying theme of that, is that I didn't feel like she believed in me.
Oh, okay. So then that sometimes when things happen, it unearths and reveals the deeper truth.
Yeah. And that was, yeah. I was like, what can if you don't believe in me, about what I'm doing and what I'm trying to do, what I'm putting into this, what I'm putting into myself, all the things that I'm trying to accomplish, because I was doing different things. I was always pretty ambitious, and having aspirations, things I wanted to do. And her actions, her words, led me to believe that she didn't believe in me, that I could do it, or whatever it was, whether it was her own fear or what. You know what I'm saying? She didn't believe in me. And that was felt like almost the beginning of the end.
Yeah. No, I mean, that makes perfect sense. And that's such a sensitive and intuitive and discerning thing. You really got to have your ears and eyes open when it comes to what people are saying and what they're really saying. So we got words and we got the rest of that,
Yes,
and that's
absolutely.
Major. That's really important to consider. Well, thanks for sharing that. That's, it's very interesting. It's something to think about. So we touched a little bit on this, but how do you think today's slang language and lyrics and music and all of this stuff have an altered perception on love, our belief in self, and family?
I think that if you don't have some experience, some level of experience, and if you haven't done any self work to a certain extent, then you're very susceptible to those things, as far as your perception on, like you said, on what's a great relationship, what makes a great woman, what makes a great man, what successful means, all these different things. And I can see, if you don't have experience, if you haven't had some went through some life and actually went through some things, and if you haven't done kind of the self work to really start kind of looking at yourself, if you're always kind of looking at the outside for validation and all these different things, then those people are going to be very susceptible to what's popular or what people are saying, or maybe looking up to people in situations who most of the time those people are playing a character. That's not even usually them as far as their beliefs and how they move. They're playing a character, whether they're actors, whether they're musicians or artists. And a lot of kids, even a lot of adults, take that as their truth. You know what I'm saying? As that's what successful relationship, that's what a successful life, that's what fulfillment looks like. And eventually, if those people ever get those things, they realize that's not what it was.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a good answer. And I see it so much. It's like, we use the way we use our words, even if it's just, lyrics or a song, or like you said, movies and characters, or just little stuff, memes, all of this stuff that we see, we're taking it in. And I agree with you. I had an upbringing. Well, one, I was born in the 80s, so I'm an 80s baby. So I feel like one of the last normal people up in here, 2000s. I don't know what happened. But I ain't even gonna lie, it's unnerving a little bit, because like you said, people are looking at these memes, these celebrity relationships, these, this and that. We had, let's say the Cosbys, for instance. Now you got Bill Cosby in a situation, but like, just when it comes to love, family values, and how our perception of ourselves, I think there's just so much language and wording and memes and music out there that is 100% counterproductive to what we really need. And without the foundation of, like I said, my upbringing and my certain things, like I can listen to a song like WAP and not let it take my whole mind. And, I can listen to, I ain't gonna become a gangster overnight. I ain't finna, start acting in a certain way just because, women are doing this nowadays, blah, blah, blah. So I just thought I'd get your perspective on that, because it's a little scary. I'm like, we're really buying into what we're seeing and hearing without knowing the reality of what any of it means to us and the value and the weight it really has.
Yeah, that just goes back to everything we talked about from the beginning, as far as that understanding of that self thing. Because if you know who you are, nothing else, no one else is going to define you. You're going to be self-defined. And we, like you said, are in a generation where very impressionable, information is instant. People are celebrities kind of instantly, and mostly not for positive things. And that attention has become, that drug. You know what I'm saying? I want that attention. I want that notoriety. I want to be viral or whatever. And like you said, that's one of those that terminology that has become the currency of today. If somebody in that generation talking to another person, they're like, okay, I'm viral, I'm this, I'm that, then they see value in that. Like, oh man, you're this, you're popular, and how they're viewed and how they're looked at. You know what I'm saying? But when they get older, they realize that stuff, doesn't have any value. So it just really adds to, the stuff that we talked about, the importance of the book and the kids and starting early. And the reason why this stuff even so important is because I've talked to thousands of people who are adults who are struggling with self, and every aspect of their life that we struggle with is always going to come back to you. And I guarantee if we talk enough, we'll track back to some instances when you were younger or just in the past that were opportunities that, maybe something that you didn't get, you didn't know, you didn't approach it. And it's okay, because you didn't know. Nobody taught us. Nobody didn't know. You know what I'm saying? So the reason why this is so important now is because I'm talking to thousands of adults who struggle with this and have impacted kind of the way their lives. And they're still on that self journey, and they started it late. And it probably came from, going through some pain to realize that, hey, I need to figure out who I am. And you going on that self journey and figuring out who you are is super important, but it shouldn't be as a reaction to pain or to override something that happened in your past.
Man, I completely agree so much. All of it comes back to that. Every single thing. That's why, even as a host or just an individual, I always look at self first. I don't judge people that I speak to, because I know everything comes from something. I don't blame my exes for being this, being that. It's not that. Like, I try to speak and share, where was I at that made me stay? Or, there's all of these things because nobody's served when you have not done the inner work. Like a woman that stays with a man too long, or even if you stay at a job too long, you can't blame corporate America for not being whatever. You need to look at the part of yourself that's afraid to go jump and do something else.
Yeah.
All of it comes back to self.
All of it. Yeah. You went back to what I'm always saying in my quotes is it's not what people do, it's what you allow.
And it requires responsibility. You got to look at that.
That's it. You have to take 100% responsibility. It's easy to throw 20% here and 20% there to justify it, to make yourself feel better. But, you know, we only make those significant changes in our lives and really get to that place we want to be until we take 100% responsibility. It's not easy, but it's necessary.
It's not easy. It actually hurts a little bit too.
It does hurt. It hurt a lot of bit.
Yeah. But so does, you know, beating your head against the wall. That hurts too. And just continuously doing things that don't serve you because you didn't take the chance to like look within and figure it out a little bit. So I think it's something that our generation, and by our generation, I mean like the late 20s to early 40s, I would say, like up in there, to really just kind of clean it up a little bit so that the children that are reading your book and are coming into a space and atmosphere that's just a little more truthful and honest and real and communicative and open and healing and restorative and transformative, like all the things that we need and we definitely aren't learning in school. So
absolutely, we have to be self-educated. You know what I'm saying? Most of the stuff I went to school for, high school, college, I don't even know if I'm using any of that now. My most important and the lessons that I put into play every day are things that are taught by experience or kind of what I seeked and learned myself and put into action.
Yeah, I call that the school of the hard knocks.
Sure enough, I'm definitely from there. I got plenty of stories about that too.
We'll have to get to that in another interview. I want to hear some hard knock stories.
Oh man, you don't want to hear that.
Sunny Roses in the chat was like, "Kings speak. It's not what people do, it's what you allow." She's been sharing and chiming in and enjoying the conversation and your quote. So I love that. And so this is pretty much just a wrap it up question. We kind of touched on some of this, but I wrote that all life is vibration. It's all a vibration. And there's so much going on in news and media right now. A lot of hateful things are being said. Like, I've tuned out a lot because of a lot of the hateful things people are saying. Like, it's cool if you don't like the president, but I just wonder how much better do you think you are by constantly spewing hate, you know, or you may not like people who vote for this or do this or that. That's okay, but they're still humans. Like, why are we spewing so much hate about what we hate and who's stupid and what we don't like and who we want to die? Like, I can't, you know? So a lot of hateful things are being said. How do we guard against that? And what are 3 ways that you think we can turn on a different current in our battery of thoughts?
I think number 1 is gonna know what you want. Know what you want in every aspect. That clarity, everything. You know, nothing I'm saying is going to be new or profound.
It's profound when you hear it. You're like,
I'm just being honest. Yeah. Just know what you want. If you know what you want, then your beliefs, your thoughts, your actions will be guided by that, and you're not as influenced by those other things that's going on, because you realize, hey, you know, whether I agree with this or not agree with it, I have my own mind, and whatever I express is kind of going to come from there, not on me jumping into this group and whatever they believe. That's what I believe, and that's what I'm going to say, you know, because there aren't any individuals anymore. Everybody is kind of like, okay, I'm gonna hop on this train to feel a part of something because it makes me feel a part of it. It makes me feel powerful, you know, if I'm a part of this thing. And, you know, what we talk about is to be able to feel powerful within yourself, because if you're powerful and understand your power in yourself, then you're not worrying about having to be with anybody else. Yes, if you can get, I think it's you should be with like-minded individuals because we're absolutely stronger together. And the impact that we need to make, we can't do it alone. We have to do it ourselves. But we understand that we have to do our part, and sometimes that takes walking alone, to take that journey by yourself. And it may not be anybody walking beside you, but eventually somebody's going to follow your footsteps and walk behind you and take it even that much further. I don't know if that answered your question, but
no, it did. It did completely. Because again, I just go back to when all this stuff was going on. I'm very sensitive. I'm a feeler. I can feel when things are not right. And, it was getting eerie. And I personally knew, just like you did, that I had to step back and go within so I could get real clear and real anchored in what I had going on. It's not that of course, it's not that I don't care about the issues, but who am I going to be in the midst of it is the more important thing, because out of me and out of my heart flows life. So what am I putting out? Like you said, what am I echoing out into the environment that is going to serve the whole? Because we surely have enough hollering and screaming going on. And I get it, rightfully so. I'm not knocking any, but you got to choose who you're going to be in that moment and what you're about and how you're going to show up. It's a man in a mirror situation.
Right. Like you said, we have to, there's a lot of things we complain about, don't like, mad at, but we have to be that change, because if, like I said, that sounds cliche as well, but it's so true. It's like, if you want this thing to change, what are you doing about it? Like, I'll challenge anybody who's like this and that. Don't do this. I'm mad at this. They need to do this. They need to do that. Hey, what are you doing? Because I have to look in the mirror every day and ask myself that. And that's what, you and platforms like this, like, okay, I see a need for this, and people say that they need this. Hey, my action and me being obedient to my truth and to my gift and to the vision that God gave me, I'm going to do my part. First, I got to be clear, because if I'm asking him, hey, I want this. Hey, what do you want? I need a specific, exactly what you want. I need a specific plan, and I need you to do your part. And that's taking that action. And that shows your faith and your obedience to that thing. So I would challenge those people, like, what are you doing about it? What are you going to do from this moment forward to make those changes? Not only, when it comes globally, but those changes that you want to see start first in here, then they start in your environment, directly around you. Because if you impact this, the people that are around you are going to be impacted. They're going to impact the people, the kids going to school, you going to work, you going in the neighborhoods and in the community. And that is contagious. And that's the kind of energy that we want to put out.
Absolutely. High vibrational energy is so contagious. We've got to turn off the low vibrational stuff and, allow ourselves to soar a little bit and just see what's in there and have some fun.
Absolutely. Don't forget to do that.
Okay.
Still gotta have some fun, man. I know we talk about a lot of serious stuff, but it's super important to understand that, you're, like I say, you're human, and we're not just one thing. We need to still be grateful and enjoy life, because we're here. You have the opportunity to do something. You have the opportunity to speak, to breathe, to live, to impact, to do something. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I tell people all the time, you may not be able to do what you want to do, but you can do something.
You can do something. You can do something. I was telling myself that yesterday. My computer died and the battery broke. And I was like, okay, I may not be able to do everything that I plan to do today, but I can do something.
I can do
Got
something.
my phone
That's
out,
it,
started
man.
cutting some stuff up, and just
That's it, man.
the needle moving forward.
That's it. That's it. That is it.
Yes, I love it. And yes, Sunny Rose in the chat says impact is key. So yes, let's use our words. Let's be impactful. Let's go get Crown Your King. Where can we find it? Because we can pre-order and then get it. So you want to just shout that out one more time? Because I think that's very impactful and important for the kids to get this.
Absolutely. So the book is called I Am Powerful, I Am Amazing, I Am a King. The website is crownyourking.com. If you want to pre-order the book, it officially releases on October 20th. But today and tomorrow, we're participating in Prime Day. So if you go to crownyourking.com and click on the banner at the top of the page, or you click on the link in my bio on Instagram at Anthony D. Brice. You can get a pre-release copy of the book and get it before the actual release date. So you can literally go in there now and order it and possibly have it tomorrow with Amazon Prime.
Okay, so when we get off of this, I'm gonna order mine. I don't have a child yet, but I'll have the book just right up there ready next to my dad's 2 children's books. Okay,
Absolutely.
All my brothers contributing with their work, and I'm gonna have it. I'm gonna keep it because you never know. That might be a little something I could do to remind the universe that I'm open to having a child.
I think it will. I think it will have an impact on no matter what age you are. I've been having people of all ages that feel like, man, I needed this reminder. I wish I had this when I was that age. But even if I'm at this age, I still needed this reminder of who I am, because that's something that, like I say, as adults, we're still trying to answer that question. And the earlier you can get a grasp on that journey, answer that question, the more impactful, the more successful, the more fulfilled that you'll be in your life.
I mean, that's so good. I really hope everyone watching feels the weight of the power in that, because we talk about so much things, but like this is like the main thing. Few little sentences, a cool little easy thing, know who you are, be anchored in who you are, but it's literally like your whole life.
Just
it's
like
your
that.
Income, your relationships, your love, your legacy, your money, it's everything.
Everything. Oh, that's what I forgot to mention. Also, we have some community initiatives going on actually with the book, because for us and for me, it's not. And let me remind, I'm sorry, she's probably going to jump on me because I didn't mention her. I have a co-author. Her name is Christy High. She's actually has written already 2 successful children's books. One is called Peter's Perfect Pipes, about asthma, and I'm No Different from You, and that's about sickle cell. So that's my co-author. Even though I kind of had the concept, she's been with me this past year, building this concept out, and really going with me as I build it out and put it out there. So I don't want to get in trouble for not mentioning her. So
shout out to Christy.
For real. The other thing was, for every 10 books that we sell, we're donating a book, to a deserving child. So that's either going to be through community organizations or individuals that we see that kind of need it. So for every 10 books that we sell, we're donating a book. We also have a program called From King to King. Well, that is From King to Kings. So that's the name of that program. So for every 10 books that we sell, 1 book gets donated. And amazing. The challenge that we have, I call it the Million Kings Challenge. So I sound like a big number, but my goal is to crown 1 million kings. And when I mean crown, to get the book into that many hands, because it's that important. And the million came from like Million Man's March, Million Women's March, just the significance of that number. So to really put something out in the atmosphere, and to not only give myself a goal, but to give us a goal to show the significance of how important it is and the impact that we can make, and to have something that we're actually, reaching for.
No, I love the million. And I think it's amazing because, again, if we want to talk about what we're going to do for the Black community, what we're going to do for our communities, we talk about reparations, the president, we talk about everything but some of the stuff that we need to be talking about. And when our kids are doing well, our men are doing well, our women, our children, our families, the Black family, please, like the Black family, okay? When you do something like put this book in the hands of millions, how do I explain this? Because sometimes I mess up. I listen to a lot of Wayne Dyer, Power of Intention, Power versus Force, a lot of things like that. And I'm not sure, but okay. So Jesus calibrated on a level that was so high and so potent that calibration was able to change the minds of a certain radius. So if we have 1 million Black boys with this book, that collective mindset is enough to change the trajectory of where Black boys from here on out are going. It's not a book. It is a shift. It's a change. It's a movement.
Yes.
So I just want us to understand how energy and mindset works and why it's so important for people to get on board, because that mindset and that energy is enough to tilt the scale. The kind of tilt, we're tired of asking, begging, marching, preaching, and we got it. But how are we going to, make it happen?
That's it, man. That point you just made, and real quick, a point that I made at the last talk that I had, that one of my mentors, Dr. Miles Monroe, said was, so go the men, so go the nation. So based on where it was speaking about Black men, talking about our historically, how we were in the community, our standing, how we thought about ourselves, that residual impacts the whole family, impacts the nation, the community, globally, everywhere, based on kind of how we're doing it. You can go all the way back to the beginning and look at the state of that, and look all the way to and fast forward to now and see how that has impacted everything: the family, women, single women, incarceration, fathers not being around to be there for those boys, and then turn around and that cycle ends up repeating. You know what I'm saying? Land ownership, not being able to have that land to pass on, to have those houses that were in families for generation to generation, knowing where your family originates and came from, to be able to trace those things back. Like, that's important. Like, and without those things, that has impacted. So when people say, hey, just get over it, this is now, none of that stuff impacts now, it absolutely impacts now, because we wouldn't be where we are without those things. We wouldn't have those specific struggles that are pertinent with us without that dynamic. Okay, I'm stop preaching now.
Please, that was so good, because it's so true. So that's what I'm saying. If we can get passionate about wanting to go out in the streets, if we can get passionate about, I just want to see us get passionate about all of it. Then if we let's dive in, and as a community really do the things we need to do to change the trajectory. I know that it's everything that we do now. If you have an idea on your heart, or if you feel passionate about it, you got to get it out now, because it's up to us. I can't even see it no other way. This ain't something that's going to change down the line. If you are not trying to solve a problem that cannot be solved in your lifetime, it's probably not big enough. So with that being said, go get the book and help these babies, get out there, especially because now, don't forget. So my friend has a 6-year-old son, and he's so sweet and smart, and he's so sweet. But not too long ago, he was like, Mom, I don't want to be brown anymore. People don't like brown people or whatever. And it's like, yo, we have to be mindful about the way we go about things. So it's like, of course, this is his reaction to the protest and the verbiage, the way we speak about cops and what's happening. And we are almost, I don't want to say choosing. I want to be mindful with my words, because I'm definitely sensitive to the topic, but how can we choose to use our words differently and our energy in a more powerful way, so that we're not in a perpetual state of this sickness, of this lack, of this, we have to do more, people don't like us, we can't, we need, who's not giving us, we're not. How quickly can we eradicate that? So
you're right. You're right. What you spoke about, something I spoke about before, man. I'm glad you really brought that up. Is that trauma, the psychological trauma kind of that we have, and I talked about before about how so many people want us to get over things so fast and not linger, and why stuff is not important or whatever. But it's like every time something happens, every time we see something, whether we see it ourselves personally, or whether we see it on TV or social media, those same things that have been repeating, or even when we go back and watch a movie about slavery and about all those things that happen, it's almost like we're reliving that pain every time, every day. Every time we see something, we're reliving that pain. And that stuff is in our inside of us. That's in our biology. Like it's in there, that trauma. So you can't just tell, it's easy to tell people just to turn those things off. And I'm glad you mentioned the young man, because that's another thing that we're doing. It's called the Wall of Kings. So they can go on to crownyourking.com. And when they get the book, they can nominate their son, grandson, nephew, whomever, to be on our Wall of Kings. And that's literally just us honoring those boys, those Black and brown boys' faces, for them to see the beauty and the power in themselves, to see themselves in that way. I want to, because it's so easy, like you said, for them to turn those things on and not like what they see and devalue what they see. So I wanted to, within that, create something where all of those boys can see themselves and go see other boys that look like them, and to see the power and beauty in that. That's super important.
Yeah, I love it. I'm here for it. I love everything that you're putting out and what you're doing. We got barbershop conversations in the house. My boyfriend, he's amazing, and he believes in a lot of this stuff, and just, he does so much for the community as well. So glad to have him in here. And then Sunny Rose suggested a book, Post-Traumatic Slave Disorder, by Dr. Joy DeGruy. Dr. Joy DeGruy. So I'm definitely willing to check that out. And then, of course, yes, rest in peace, Miles Monroe. That was a tragic situation. Such a great man, but I love that his children.
Yes, I was
his children
very influenced by Cat. Yeah.
So his son and his daughter do a lot of work in the community and are still keeping the legacy on. So that's kind of amazing, at least,
They do. I still go back and read his books and watch his videos to kind of get a reminder to keep myself focused, because we definitely all still need that, to keep feeding yourself every day. Yeah, you can't get enough. There's too much stuff going on. Yeah, you have to counteract all of that negative stuff with something positive, and that's something you have to be proactive. Don't wait until you get bad, until you're just on the floor and can't get up before you do something. Do it now. Feed yourself now. Feed your soul now. Feed your spirit now. Feed your heart now. You know what I'm saying? And take that energy and give it to somebody else so they can do the same thing.
Absolutely. Feed yourself now. There's so much power in now. And like you said, do it so you can give it to someone else. We function best when we're functioning from the overflow. So if you're in a deficit, there's nothing to give. But if you stay filled up, you can. And, don't forget, the good Lord says, have your daily bread. Okay. Just because you read a book yesterday, today you're going to need something. You're going to need to eat something soulful that's going to help you keep your mind in the right spot. So it is a daily thing, So I love that you mentioned that. Yes. Well, I love it. This was an amazing conversation, like always.
Absolutely, man. I enjoyed it. I always, appreciate talking to you. It comes so natural. Yeah. I love what you're doing. I love that. I know you had a lot going on the past few months, but how you just use this as an opportunity to say, you know what, I'm not just going to sit back and let stuff happen. I'm not going to let the fact that I can't do certain things keep me from keeping this thing moving forward. So I absolutely commend you for that. And of course, anytime you call, we can make it happen.
Absolutely. And I'm going to get my book. I'm going to get the Wall of Kings going. I got some kids I want to nominate, all this. So I'm so excited. I can't wait for 1 million. I'm standing with you on that, in agreement that 1 million boys will have this book. Yeah. It's not too much to ask. There's billions of people in this world. So.
Billions, yeah. And there's so many things that we invest in that don't give us anything back. So and it's not just for boys. I just want to say that, like, it's not, even though we're talking about Kings, and I focus a lot on him because, like you said, the time that we're in, I really wanted to give the boys something, because I do a lot of stuff. I talk a lot of women, I talk a lot about those things and talk to those people. So I really wanted to create something for me being a young boy, and something that I would need for my boys. I have a 4-year-old and a 10-year-old. For all of the boys, I wanted to give them something specific so they can see themselves, because like we said, the especially what's going on now, they needed something and somebody to see them for who they truly are. But at the same time, this lesson of self-empowerment, being able to speak into yourself and knowing who you are and knowledge yourself, is important, period, no matter, boy or girl. So this is for our kids, period. So I guarantee a young woman can read it and get the same thing out of it and know that she's a queen. So I don't want anybody to think that it's just for boys. It's for our kids, for them to see the power and the beauty and to know that, you know, they are regal.
You are so right about that. And I'm glad you cleared that up for, you know, it being for children. It's for it's for boys and girls, and for the adults who is going to read through it and find a little value in it for themselves. So bottom line, 1 million books, 1 million people should have it in their hands. And, you know, I'm with you to, like I said, women, we do the healing. We get it down. Okay. Women, we really stay locked in to try to figure out all of the things. But just to have men be like, well, what about us? I was like, oh my God, like the guys, there has to be, it's nice to do things with men in mind. Cause I think a lot of times we're like, oh, they're fine. You know, and it's like, no,
we're not fine.
No, you're not.
We're not fine. We need you. And
Yes.
I'm not, my pride and ego allow me to say that we need you. And that's how we were created, not as, you know, just as an individual, but to function as a unit. You know what I'm saying? We were made to be able to, we need each other to help reach our full expression of ourselves and our power and our impact. You know, we need each other to do that. And the sooner we realize that and learn that and put it into action, you know, it's the change, the impact would be exponential.
Exponential. So let's do it. We're going to stay on our job. We're going to get the 1 million books. We're going to harmonize relationships between women and men. We're going to keep conversing, keep writing, and keep putting the powerful spoken words out into the universe. So everybody is doing good. Yes, we need you. Facts. We need each other. That's right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to follow Anthony D. Brice with an I on social media. Follow Kings Speak. I'm going to have some ladies look at this, and we're going to talk about it on Thursday. So we have an after conversation, because it's important that if we're going to get all this information from men, how much can us women learn, and then learn to stand in a position of power now that we have a little bit more understanding through your words. So I want you guys all to tune in on Thursday for the after conversation where queens glean what the kings speak. So awesome. Yes. And let's make sure I'm not missing anything. Yes. Peace and love, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your time. And I'll see you on the gram.
All right. Thank you.
All right. See ya.
All right.
Bye.